Hi everyone, Ms. Stamp here. For reading today, we're going to be thinking about cause and effect. So I'm going to show you a chart that explains what cause and effect are. Here it is. So it also gives us a few examples. So the cause is the reason why something happened. And an effect is the result of what happened first. Okay, so cause is the reason why something happened, and the effect is the result of that something that happened first, of that cause. So here are some examples. Next to the sun, it says, because the sun comes out after the rain, that's the cause, and the effect is that we see a rainbow. So the reason that there was a rainbow is because the sun comes out after the rain. All right, here's another example. So the cause of this one is that the boy hit the ball. The effect was that it says, as a result, the window broke. So the cause was the boy hit the ball. The effect was the window broke. For the last example, it says, the sun was hot. So that's the cause, and the effect was the ice cream melted. So the sun was hot, therefore the ice cream melted. So these are just a few examples of causes and effects. So now I'm going to read a book, and I want you to think about what happens and if there are any cause and effect situations. Right? Okay. Okay, so here we go. Oh, let's plug in my computer. We're going to read this book called Where Once There Was a Wood. Where Once There Was a Wood. And the author and illustrator of this book is Denise Fleming. All right, see if you can figure out the cause and effect of this book. Where Once There Was a Wood by Denise Fleming. Where once there was a wood, a meadow. Do I see a bumblebee and butterflies? And a creek. Where once the red fox rested and closed his eyes to sleep. Where once the ferns unfurled and purple violets grew. There's a turtle too. Where once the woodchuck left his den to catch the morning dew. Where once the horned owl hunted to feed her hungry brood. That means her offspring or her babies. Where once the heron fished and speared his glittering food. Where once the brown snake slithered and slipped out of sight. Where once the raccoons rambled and rummaged in the night. Where once the berries ripened and waxwings came to feed. I guess these birds are called waxwings. Where once the pheasants roosted and fed on nuts and seeds. Where once there was a wood, a meadow, and a creek. Sit houses side by side, 20 houses deep. The end. So it was kind of a sad story at the end, right? They're First were woods where there used to be animals. So the author told us that there used to be animals and their habitats in these woods, but now there are houses and buildings. So I'm thinking about cause and effect now. But first I want to read the note that the author left us at the end. So here it says, wild areas are disappearing. Housing developments and shopping malls are taking over land that once was home to wildlife. We can provide new homes for wild creatures by creating wildlife habitats in our backyards, schoolyards, and community spaces. So here it says, welcome wildlife to your backyard habitat. Okay, so back to cause and effect. So I'm thinking that the cause in this story was that the woods were cut down to make room for houses and buildings. And the effect was that there now are less wild areas that are home to wildlife. So another effect of that was that animals lost their homes, right? And plants were cut down, trees were cut down. So when you read books this week, I want you to see if you notice any cause and effect situations in the stories. We can also think about using cause and effect in our own writing, and we might do that tomorrow in our fiction stories. So I'm going to read the rest of this note, and you keep thinking about cause and effect this week, okay? All right, so we know habitat means the place where a plant or animal naturally lives and grows. So you can make your own wildlife backyard habitat. It says when planning your backyard habitat, consider the climate, location, and soil of the area. Keep in mind the needs of local wildlife and the needs of wild creatures that stop over during migration. Study your space. Pretend you're a bird, butterfly, or animal. Are there places to hide? What about food? Are there fruit and seed-bearing plants? Wildflowers? Is there water? Make a list of what your space provides and what is needed. Research native plants and visit a nature center. Talk to local naturalists. They'll be able to answer many of your questions about native plants and wildlife. We know that wild creatures have 4 basic needs: space, shelter, water, and food. All right, so there is some more information, but I want to help you with your reading response now. So now that we're done reading this book, Where Once There Was a Wood, you are going to do some writing about the cause and effect. Okay, so on the next slide it says, write about one cause and effect in the story Where Once There Was a Wood. So if you have a piece of paper or a journal, go ahead and get that. And you can write cause on the top half and effect on the bottom half and write about it, okay? I'll remind you what I thought the cause was and what I thought the effect was, because this is kind of a tricky idea. So I thought that the cause in the story was that the woods were cut down to make room for houses and buildings. The effect was that now there were less wild areas that were home to wildlife, so the animals lost their homes. All right, go ahead and do this and then move on to the next slide.